say it's time for another Rage Select podcast. I'm trying out a new thing. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I think more enthusiasm.
Hey, what do you say?
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Rage Select podcast.
I do cocaine.
Exactly. Yes, I am now Roxo, the rock and roll clown. Welcome back to the Rage Select podcast, everybody. I am Jeff.
I'm Amanda.
We got a shitload to talk about, so we're going to kind of dispense with the pleasantries. Also, Amanda has agreed to come here late at night. I believe you're a little bit sick today.
I am just slowly getting a cold.
Okay,
so.
good. So just pump the brakes on that until you're out of my
I'm
house.
on a lot of pills.
I cannot afford to be down an hour this week.
At this point, if you cut my vein, echinacea will come out of it. I've been taking in a lot of stuff.
I want to see that. Anyway, so we got a lot to talk about this week.
You just threaten me?
No. I said
cut a vein. You're like, I'd like to see that.
I would be interested in seeing echinacea flow out from a human being. Okay, so before we get to anything else, just real fast, because I know that some people just listened to the very beginning of this. Patreon. There was some changes that Patreon made. They rolled them back. There's one video out there where I basically just say, hey, don't worry about it. If you've already been affected, though, go watch that video. If you have any questions, let me know, mail@rageselect.com, or reply to a Patreon email. If you're an existing patron, I don't want to spend a lot of time in it, but I do want to signal boost it here just so that everybody knows.
Cool beans.
So, that. So last week, after just like a day after the Video Game Awards, where we had all kinds of crazy new trailers, they had the PlayStation Experience 2017, which had not really as much, no new
wasn't very exciting.
Yeah, no,
and it's out now.
Right. Well, there was one that was kind of like that. There were a couple that were kind of like that we'll go over. I didn't actually make you watch any of those.
Nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but before we get to that, let's talk about a few movie trailers.
Okay.
Shall we?
Jeff made me watch them. I was like, I'm not watching movie trailers anymore, Jeff. And he was like, fuck you, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because there's some Last Jedi or the new... what's the name of the...
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi stuff that I'm probably going to have to dance a little bit around, because Amanda's been on total media blackout, and I respect that. I have great respect for that.
All I know is porgs exist, and that is... I don't know what they sound like.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they talk.
What's a porg?
I think it's it looks like a bird.
Oh, that little thing from the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's all I know, and that's because it's the thumbnail of every trailer, so whenever I see it, I go like, ah, and then I change it.
But let's not talk about that movie. Let's talk about a different movie steeped in nostalgia, and that is, we got a full-on trailer for Ready Player One. Previously this year, we saw a teaser that had some, just mostly imagery. This one actually kind of goes into the story. I actually have read the book, so I already know the story. You have not?
No.
Okay. So let's see. What did you think about this trailer?
I think it looks a lot like... We've talked about Ready Player One before.
Yeah.
I think it looks like a fucking nostalgia wink, and I think it looks like fan fiction. Like the world's, besides 50 Shades of Grey, this is the most successful fan fiction I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah. It looks real glitzy. I mean, it looks nice.
I mean, visually speaking, it looks good. It's just, I'm not sold on a story at all.
I think that, what's strange for me is that I actually think that Spielberg is directing this, right? Mm-hmm. I think that if anybody could get away with taking this story, filing off enough of the nostalgia wank rough edges and just making it like visual stuff that you see in the world, and then making a coming of age disaffected kid has to go on a quest, I think Spielberg can do that without too much difficulty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. I actually feel like a lot of people have gotten real bleh about this since the first one. Like the first one, everyone was like, oh shit. This one is just like, man, fuck it, I'm over it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's not even out yet.
Yeah. It looks like maybe I would have enjoyed it more if it was just on Netflix.
If it was a Netflix series.
It wasn't like, hey, paid $13 to go see it in theaters.
I guess I'll probably go see it in theater, but goddamn, I didn't even go see Justice League in theaters. There is some stuff that I can see in this trailer that I can identify as not in the book. And it seems like they're kind of, it seems like the girl character, the girl, that they have in every movie,
female,
has changed a little bit from what was in the
is that Tracer?
Yeah, that was Tracer. Has changed a little bit from what was in the book, but I don't know. I mean, like, if it's got good action and it's got, it's the sort of thing that if it's just like kind of lighthearted, you know, go on a quest, have an adventure, some CGI action battle stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of nostalgia references, you know, good soundtrack. And Chun-Li is standing right next to Tracer.
Then just watch the Tron Uprising.
What, the Tron sequel?
Yeah, if you want
gross.
If you want just crazy visuals, nostalgia wink, and a good soundtrack, I can name another movie.
Oh, well, I would, except that CGI Jeff Bridges. I get all the Jeffs. I can't keep the Jeffs straight.
As far as I'm concerned, there's only one Jeff.
There's only one Jeff worth remembering in my mind. Jeff, what is it? Foxworthy?
Yeah.
Dunham? Yeah.
Sure.
Goldblum? I think it could be fine. In fact, I think it'll probably end up being
I'm sure
a fun enough movie.
I think it'll be better than what I'm pitching it as. That's for sure.
You know what it reminds me of? Is Speed Racer.
Oh,
Like, I hope that it comes out like Speed Racer, where it's just like popcorn, bubble gum. Let's do this. Beginning, middle, end. 2 hours long. Fucking
fun. You're being dropped in a crazy world, and if you accept it, then you're going to enjoy it.
Well, the other nice thing about this particular story is that it doesn't have sequel hooks. And I don't know if Ernie Klein is writing another book. I know that his second book was not really as
Ready Player 2.
I think that he might be actually making another. He might be writing another book, but like this book. The one kind of cool thing about this story is that unlike a lot of people have this problem with movies these days, there aren't inbuilt hooks for a sequel. It's not the beginning of a 5-part series. It's a story with a beginning, a middle, an end. And as long as they don't, and from what I'm seeing here in the trailers, even the screen that we're on, this seems like the end of the book. So as long as they're not like, oh, well, we're going to cut this up into 3 movies, great, which I don't think they're going to, because they would have marketed as Ready Player One, Part 1, right? I'm all for beginning, middle, end.
Full story.
New property, full story, easy going, no like universe building bullshit, just go.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, you know, is more nostalgia than you can shake a stick at. I saw an RX-78 Gundam in there. I think I know what that's replacing from the original story. Yeah. And hey, you know what? That's cool with me. It looks like in the small part where you see it.
Was that Chucky?
Yeah, it moves like an actual Gundam from the Gundam stuff. It's funny. It's pausing on any individual frame, you're just like, is that?
Who's that?
So, yeah, I think Freddy was in the last one as well. Because one of the parts of the story is that you can make your avatar anything that you want, and so a lot of people pick characters, and that's like what those characters are like other people's avatars in the world.
So you can either design your own, or you can be somebody else.
You can just fucking be like, I want to be Tracer Man.
Oh yeah, like we wouldn't see just like 2 million Batmans running around.
Well, it's just an army because they're all disaffected teenagers. It's just like Cloud Strife, Deadpool, Batman, Deadpool,
like
Cloud.
Every other girl and some guys are Harley Quinn.
Naruto, the Joker. All Jokers to the left. Now charge.
I mean, if that's in the story,
why so serious? Why so? It's just a battle cry of why so serious.
Oh man! And then like one Cesar Romero who is it? Cesar Romero? Who is the TV show?
Yeah.
Just like one guy that's like not the right Joker.
My favorite Cesar Romero fact is the fact that when he was in the movie, he wouldn't shave his mustache.
Oh, yes,
so he's just got white paint on his mustache. It's great. In addition to that, there were a few other trailers, but we got too many game trailers to talk about. We saw this Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom trailer. Now, there's something that's really strange about this trailer. And I don't know if I already told you about this, but it starts off with this song. Anybody who knows what love is will understand. That song.
Is that the name of the song, or is that just a statement?
No, that's I'm reading my manifesto now. That was just a weird change. So that song is actually very prevalent in Black Mirror of all things.
Oh, okay.
So
weird.
And what's really strange is that it's all over Black Mirror. It first showed up in the 15 Million Merits, the second episode of Black Mirror.
Are you trying to tell me that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is a Black Mirror episode?
Well, here's the thing. I don't fucking know, because the other weird thing is that the first person you see is Bryce Dallas Howard, who was in the first episode of the Netflix season of Black Mirror. So it's like, when I first started watching this trailer, I'm like, is this a fake out for season 4 of Black Mirror?
That would be awesome if they faked it out.
Yeah, that would be much better than what we actually got, which looked like just a soulless. Hey, you like Jeff Goldblum? You like Jeff Dunham? He's in this movie. And he even put the life will find a way.
No, but for real, if Jeff Bridges was in Jurassic World, I'd watch the fuck out of it.
I didn't like. Did you watch Jurassic World?
I did. I didn't hate it.
I thought I didn't hate it, but it just, to me, it came off as so much kind of, I mean, forgive me for being such a hippie, but like kind of soulless corporate garbage where it was just like, oh, you like T-Rex? Now we've got an even bigger T-Rex that's invisible.
It's definitely like, it was one of the lead-up movies for my big, like, I don't really feel like watching big blockbuster movies anymore.
I can see that.
It's definitely one of the bigger ones that hit my exhaustion of it, where I'm just like, I can't feel ways about it anymore. 3 more movies? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I always thought that they've never explored the most interesting thing about Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
They did talk about it briefly
moral implications
in Jurassic World about when you're able to do gene therapy that way, like, we should be making like dinosaur-powered super soldiers out of, like if you could splice. Do
you want a Universal Soldier where it's Jean-Claude Van Damme who's also a dinosaur?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. Do you think he'd look cool? Because I'm pretty sure he'd look stupid.
He'd be CGI when he monsters out. He's going to turn into a half man, half raptor.
Yeah.
It's called Jurassic Van Damme. And Steven Seagal's the villain coming out in 2009.
He's already a dinosaur. You don't even have to do CGI to him.
Suck it, Seagal! Couldn't be any worse than Rampage.
Oh, man.
George! It's funny, when I talked to Matt Frank, he was like, I'm more interested in Rampage than I am in this Jurassic, whatever it's called, Jurassic Kingdom.
Oh, man. I love Matt Frank and his convictions.
Yeah. Whatever, man. The dirty little secret that I have is that I'm not as enamored with dinosaurs as other people. So like the original Jurassic Park, I read the book. I liked the book. I watched the movie. I was like, book was better. And we're just like,
I was a Stan Winston fangirl, so Jurassic Park was like up there.
Yeah.
Because it's great. Love me some practical effects done proper.
I mean, there's good parts of it, but it's just like I've watched it. Like I've watched Jurassic Park maybe half a dozen times. It's never a movie that I'm just like, oh man, I feel the itch to go back and watch Jurassic Park. So I don't know. Anyway,
not for those great hacker scenes with the teenage girl. Those are my favorite. You didn't say the magic word.
And a very young Samuel L. Jackson smoking
Hold on
his
to your
ass
butts.
off.
Yeah.
All right. So from there, let's jump into game news.
Okay.
Yes. I'm sorry.
I was like, video game?
No, I was distracted because I looked at my YouTube and I saw a Philip DeFranco thumbnail, and then I realized that I used his transition.
Well,
from there, let's move on to some things I love
today. Yeah.
Today and awesome. So, but before we get to the big trailer apocalypse, we got a bummer story that I wasn't able. Okay, well, this isn't a bummer story. This is a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end that all happened last week, and because there were so many trailers and stuff, I didn't get a chance to talk about.
Okay.
So, last week, Destiny 2 came out with their first expansion that was called the Curse of Osiris, I believe. And the Curse of Osiris did what most MMO expansion things do. It upped the level cap. It added some new content. It added some new gear, I'm pretty sure.
Standard stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that it did was so by raising the level cap, there's a whole bunch of end game content in Destiny 2 that requires you to be like max tier level to engage in, like a raid, and there's some daily activities and things like that. So when they raised the level cap, it moved all of the base game late content to that level cap, and if you hadn't bought the expansion, you were now locked out of it.
Oh.
Interestingly, you were also locked out of getting like a platinum trophy in the game because you couldn't do all the things that you needed to get all the achievements and trophies and such. So needless to say, now I'm unclear about this because I don't play enough MMOs, but I've heard that this does happen in MMOs. I don't remember ever hearing about it happen. I remember there being new late game content in the expansion when they up the up the level cap. But in any case, this happened. Players not happy. Bungie rolled it back and issued the statement. Now, I believe, talked about the last Bungie bullshit where they were scaling down the amount of XP that you got.
Yeah.
So this says, with the curse of Osiris now live, it's clear that we've made some mistakes with how we handled content access. We would like to talk through the reasoning behind our decisions so far and what we are committed to changing moving forward. The Destiny endgame features a variety of activities and playlists that we want to remain relevant to players as they grow more powerful. In Destiny 1, as your character grew more powerful throughout each expansion, some of our best content, like Vault of Glass, was left behind and lost its relevance for players. We wanted a better solution for Destiny 2 where all of our endgame activities could stay relevant as each expansion caused your Guardian to grow more and more powerful. Honestly, though, okay, there's more to it than that. I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's pages and pages, but there's a few things that I find really interesting about this. One, this, and I just may be fresh. I may be smarting fresh off of Patreon and their BS that may be impacting my fucking livelihood. But like, I don't understand how you could decide to do this and think that it was a good idea.
Yeah.
That they were just like,
well, I always think when they do things like this, they're kind of just hoping people don't notice.
Which is interesting because I felt like that's the same thing that happened with their XP change, right? Is that they were really hoping that people didn't notice, and once they got caught, they were like, well, it turns out it was a bad decision.
I don't know how it happened.
Oh, real sorry about that. I guess we'll roll it on back. And I feel like with this, if nobody had complained, I feel like maybe the thing that rings hollow for me is that the way that Destiny puts out these releases, it's like, we've looked at this and we've decided that this feature probably wasn't the best way to go, so we've decided to roll it back. And they frame it like they decided it, but I've never seen them. And you guys, if this has happened before, I'd never followed Destiny 1 enough to know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that it seems like they only do these statements after they've been caught or people complain. So it's not like they frame it like, oh, well, we just made a mistake, and after careful consideration, we've decided that we're going to go ahead and make this change.
As opposed to like, we hear what you're saying and we did this, but you seem upset about it, so we're going to change it to better satisfy what you want.
Or if they had come out like with the XP thing without getting caught first and been like, so listen, we decided that we wanted to do this to try to keep players engaged in this system and blah, 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 but we've looked at it, we've decided it's probably not a good thing going forward, so we're going to roll it back. It's kind of just a trend that we've seen recently with the loot boxes and with the stuff like that, where it's like, I feel like that they only roll this stuff back once they're caught, that it's not a thing until people complain.
I personally live by the motto of it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, and it seems they do too.
Yeah, you know what the thing about that particular philosophy that nobody ever talks about is that that's a good thing. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, like once a year maybe, but like if you're every week asking for forgiveness instead of permission, you're gonna get you fucking fired. They're gonna be like, get the fuck out of here. This is the 4th time that we've come back and said, no, you can't do that.
Why did you do this?
So, but the other thing that I find really fascinating about this is that over the last few months, I feel like, and I don't know how long this will last, but I feel like developers and publishers have had to walk back a bunch of stuff because they spent all of 2017 pushing gamers to this point of apocalyptic fucking rage, and nobody wants to be the next Battlefront 2.
Another point of apocalyptic fucking rage.
Yeah,
Please do not imply that they have never been to that point before.
Everybody knows the people who play video games are very calm people.
Cool, calm, and collected. That's how I describe gamers.
Yep. So
I do feel like it's good to know that it happens fairly quickly. Like, once they call them out, it is a fairly quick fix.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like a battle so much as, like, you got to keep your eye on them.
I think
sneaky developers.
Yeah. I honestly feel that if this stuff goes out of the news, that eventually it'll take momentum to come back into the news. So, like, if it dies down, it's like a fire. If it dies down, you're going to have to get it started again.
Yeah.
Not that it's just like then something else happened and we were all just like, get the pitchforks, because
I mean, that kind of seems to be the way it's working, though.
Yeah, but the thing is that there hasn't been a chance to calm down. It's just been thing after thing after thing after thing after thing. So, but I hope that developers and publishers have to listen to gamers because, so far, I don't think any of the things that the community has been demanding have been outrageous. It's been like, can we please just have fucking video games, you guys, for a second?
Yeah, like a fucking regular game.
Yeah, just like video games. You know how video games are? Those. Not like slot machines with a video game on top of them, or Anywho, let's see. After that, there was actually last week there was a really interesting. Trailer. I don't know if you watched the Death Stranding trailer.
John told me he watched it and still doesn't know what that game's about.
So IGN actually had that's true. I don't really know what it's about either, but IGN did an interview with Kojima where they actually talked about...
And Kojima was like, well, I don't know.
They talked about some interesting things. They talked about death. And Kojima said that death in the game, he wants it to be kind of like not a... he doesn't want it to be... Like, Kojima always has had things... Has had ideas about how death in video games works. Once upon a time, Hideo Kojima wanted to make a PlayStation 2 game where, like, if you died in the game, it marked the disc and, like, it wouldn't work anymore. Like, it would destroy your copy of it, so you had to go buy another copy.
One shot at it.
Right.
So you have to buy another copy?
Well, this never actually happened.
Yeah, I wonder why.
But it was an interesting idea because that really gives death meaning. Like, you're going to be emotionally engaged in that game if you start getting, like, low on health and you're just like, what the fuck? It's going to cost me $50 fucking, right? But he talked about death and how he would like death to be this thing where you kind of go to a state between life and death, and you can pick stuff up and do stuff, and then when you come out of it, like the things that happened that killed you remain present in the world, and your death is reflected in the world.
Okay.
There's also a question of, in this trailer, there's this like rain that apparently kind of accelerates time. They just talked about how Norman Reedus' character Sam has like a different kind of relationship to it than some of the other people, but that it makes things like age quickly.
Yeah.
When he did this interview, he had one of these little robot things on his shoulder that they have in the demo.
Nice.
They talked briefly about the babies. Because there's the whole thing with the baby, and how that's kind of factoring into the story. He's also dropped some hints about perhaps that there's going to be some sort of combat in the game as well, or at least some kind of conflict. So I think the whole thing looks fascinating. I don't know. We have a question that comes up later on that kind of asks a little bit more about this, so we can maybe talk a little bit more about this. In fact, I'll throw this trailer on I'll put this on the side, and we can come back to it later. But in any case, if you're interested in Death Stranding, I highly recommend checking out that interview with him over at IGN. I didn't have a chance to read the entire thing before we got started, but it's pretty cool.
Neato.
I tell you what else, or what's not cool, is there's actually been Konami, after they fired Hideo Kojima, announced that they were making this game called Metal Gear Survive. without Hideo Kojima. Everybody is like, the game looks like garbage. I've actually read some stuff where some people are like, I don't know, it seems kind of all right. There's going to be a beta for it in January. I think, let's see if I can remember, see what the exact dates are. It's going to be like 3 days. It's going to be January 18th to the 21st. And there was a big kind of a big video that kind of came out talking about how this is like a Metal Gear side story, that it like there's this big wormhole that opens up, and then your character goes to this weird kind of death world later on, and it's going to have all these kind of survival mechanisms and base building mechanisms, and there's going to be like a single player story, but then it's kind of got this weird like Minecraft meets Metal Gear kind of collecting stuff, building stuff, researching new stuff. What I find really interesting is that when I look at the gameplay, it doesn't look horrible.
Yeah.
But I feel like part of that is because Kojima made a really great game engine in Metal Gear Solid 5, and they've just taken that game engine and kind of applied
it to a different
Fortnite, Minecraft survival building over it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of strange. I'm not entirely sure what to think about it, because it bears some resemblance to Metal Gear Solid 5, and in some cases you could actually make a case that Metal Gear Solid 5 might have been a better game if it had been something more like this and less narrative, because it was such this big open world that you would just spend time like driving between narrative missions instead of just kind of playing through the game.
Yeah.
And that's a structure that I think might lend itself better to something that's more of a survival game like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't look like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, it doesn't look bad, but if you called it by a different name, it also I'd feel the same way about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I'm like, oh,
yeah,
it's a Metal Gear game.
I think it's cynically like they know that they will get more. They'll get more eyes if it's even if it's hate that people have for it, right? I don't know. It doesn't look like it really doesn't look like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But then again, it's based on a system that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's finally jump on over to the Star Wars, to the PlayStation Experience 2017 trailers, and we're going to talk about some of these. We're going to skip some of them. Like, for example, there was a Spider-Man one that was just a bunch of people talking about how much they like Spider-Man.
Yeah, their underoos or whatever.
Yeah,
I might have just locked onto one aspect of that trailer. I'm not 100% sure.
They actually talk an awful lot about the villain, which is interesting because I feel like they haven't talked that much about the villain. That John has told me a lot about the villain because he actually reads comic books. But
fucking nerd.
Yeah, I didn't know that much about it up until then. So the first thing that we got is maybe something that Amanda can tell us more about, and that is apparently they're re-releasing Medieval.
So I can tell you a little bit, but I haven't played it since I first played it, which was like when I was 10.
Okay.
I just remember it being the art being adorable, and that the humor was on point for me, which tends to be kind of quirky and silly.
Yeah.
And that it was a hack and slash, which is exactly how I play my games.
Okay. I never played it, so I don't know. But you know what? That's one of the interesting advantages of living in the HD re-release time is they've gone through all the games, all the big stuff, and so now they're like, Patapon 2, and
you're like, yeah,
Medieval, and here's Okami HD. Jeff, you ungrateful sack of shit. So I don't know. I mean, you don't really see anything in the trailer. Like, it's kind of, again, it's sort of a nostalgia tickle. It's like if I didn't know anything about Medieval, that trailer wouldn't have told me anything. So I wouldn't even have really gotten the joke where it was the skull without a bottom, part of its skull like going. So, but I don't know. Maybe somebody could tell me in the comments why. I mean, it sounds like goofy hack and slash. When are they going to re-release that Maximo game?
Which one's Maximo?
He's the ghouls and ghosts guy, but he had like his own game on the PS2. I'm all in favor of getting some of those old PS2 games back out.
Do it, PlayStation. What the fuck?
Yeah. Let's see. From there, we had Monster Hunter World, the Third Fleet trailer, which was another story trailer. this was interesting because Matt and I just got done playing the beta for Monster Hunter World, and none of this story stuff was in here. Like, this trailer is just 3 minutes of people saying names and talking about places and
feeling ways.
Things.
Yeah.
There's a ships. There's like these gigantic monsters that people are running on top of. The crazy thing is that unlike playing the actual game, there's not like 8 different HUD elements splattered all over your screen. I don't know. I think I would have liked to have seen something like this, because what I got was very much, I felt like the kind of open world, go hunt a monster, track it to this place. I liked what I saw, but I'm far more interested in this than I am in just straight up Monster Hunter. Amanda seems unimpressed
I wasn't a fan. Not that I played it, but I wasn't really a fan of Monster Hunter. So
yeah,
I watched a couple people play, and I don't care.
Okay,
it's just not my gameplay. It seemed like a lot of get your team together and do this shit. And
yeah, a lot of people were really quick to point out to me that you don't have to apparently play it multiplayer. You can play the entire game single player.
I mean, I do love losing a lot.
Yeah, I don't.
I feel like it's designed to be something that you play multiplayer.
But also, Amanda, Mega Man.
Oh, right.
Mega Man.
Oh, man, now I'm totally in.
A weird...
I didn't care before, but now they turned a cat into fucking Mega Man. First of all, what?
Also, it's like this weird, chunky, cel-shaded...
Why is he hunched forward?
Because that's the animation that the cat has.
It's fucking scary.
Yeah, it looks like he's wearing a weird mask because his face doesn't move.
It's like a cat monster is wearing Mega Man's skin and nobody else knows but me.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's fucking horrifying.
Like, what the fuck happened to Mega Man? Yeah, it's a strange thing. It's also like 5 Mega Man tracks that you can listen to while you play the game? Question mark? What?
Maybe it'll get you pumped for some monster killing.
I don't know. Next up, it's actually coming out really soon, but there was a trailer that talked about all of the enhancements for the PS4 Pro that are going to be happening in the new Shadow of the Colossus game. It's funny, when they first announced this, I remember, John and I talking about it, being kind of like, I already played this game like twice. Why would I want to play it again? But it looks like they've done a fairly significant amount of work on the graphics. Like, it looks... Maybe
if you have a 4K equipment to run everything. You gotta have a 4K display device, Jeff.
Well, but if you don't, apparently, because I don't know if you caught it, what they were saying was that if you play it on a PS4 Pro, it's 60 frames per second. If you play it in 4K, it's 30 frames per second, but it's in 4K. So, because I think there's just a hardware limitation. But everything I'm seeing from the actual gameplay footage of this looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks great.
Kind of makes me want to go back and play it, because I feel like when they had the re-release, it was still kind of chunky, and it still had this weird, I don't know, this just looks so smooth. And it may just be because John and I just got done recording the Last Guardian VR experience, and I'm just like, ooh, Team Eco Games.
Yeah.
Which, if you got a PSVR, you should download that demo. It's basically just that big cat dog gets up in your face for about 15 minutes, and then you're done.
So, yay?
It's cool, man. Like, in the game, it's like you're looking at the screen, but when you're looking at it in VR, it's huge.
Yeah.
Because you're like an 8-year-old, and this big, giant monster's like towering over you, and you're just like, whoa, dude. But yeah, I don't know. This looks good. I'm interested in it. Some of these things, Rick and Morty Virtual Reality is coming to the PSVR. I was just going to tell people, a friend of mine, because this is made by a local company called Alchemy Studios. It's the same company that made Job Simulator. A friend of mine actually, or no, it might have been Brian Brushwood, who was telling me that he played this and that it...
I'm not a friend, just Brushwood.
Well, and that it kind of sucked because you play as a Morty clone.
Yeah.
And so basically it's kind of like Job Simulator, which is where they kind of give you this environment. You can kind of fuck around and do whatever you want to in it.
Yeah.
Except that Rick and Morty are standing there yelling at you the entire time to do stuff.
Ha, 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 ha.
And it's like,
I love me some Rick and Morty yelling at me.
You know, it's funny. I'm not really burned out on Rick and Morty, but this trailer just seemed very soulless of like...
Yeah, I'm not burned out on it. It's just, it doesn't seem fun.
Yeah.
Like, I still think Rick and Morty's funny.
I don't know.
Someday I'll watch the rest of the show.
Oh, season 3? I don't know. There was a lot of just like, oh man, look how Rick and Morty this thing is. And last week we had a trailer for Accounting Plus that I showed you, and I'm like, that seems more Rick and Morty to me than Rick and Morty.
It really
does. Let's see. I can't remember if this was. Oh yeah, next up, we got a new trailer for Omen of Sorrow, which is a kind of a bullshit Van Helsing fighting game that we saw at E3. What I find really interesting about this is that PlayStation keeps trotting this out.
They're very proud.
And is it just me, or like it kind of looks like just some kind of budget bullshit title?
Yeah.
Like it looks like something that you would have bought for like $10 on the PlayStation 2 back in the olden days.
Yeah, pretty much. It looks like something that they would have like that comes with the console.
Yeah. The other weird thing about this is that it's been listed incorrectly on the PlayStation Store. So technically it's been sitting as a new release in the PlayStation Store for about a week and a half now.
Yeah.
Except you can't actually buy it. So I'm like, oh, you guys know that this isn't coming out until 2018. Could you fucking delist it from the store for me,
No, they want
please?
you to remember it.
Yeah, apparently. Wipeout Omega Collection is coming to PSVR. That seems like a recipe for vomit.
Yeah.
Driving at 700 miles per hour.
Is that not how you want to play VR? Just I like to think you put it on and then you're going like 700 miles per hour and you're like, "Wah!" just the whole time.
It's like you just it comes onto my head. Ah!
Is that, I feel like that's how you would play Resident Evil 7 with VR.
Oh, jeez. I do not want to play, especially after last week when John
How much do you have to make from patrons to play Resident Evil 7 for a few episodes?
In VR?
In VR.
I don't know. All I know is that the entire Baker clan really likes to get up in your fucking face.
Yeah, they do.
And that's where I'm just, no,
like,
no.
Back away.
Get back, Jack. But let's see. After that, we actually got a trailer for something that Amanda's really excited about. Why don't you tell them about this trailer, Amanda?
This is Donut County. I believe Jeff and I have talked about it before.
Yep.
It's where you make a hole in the ground and then you suck up other like items in the land, and then your donut hole gets bigger, and you turn the globe into a donut, basically. Yep. It's awesome. We watched some in the trailer. You watch some raccoons play it, and they execute one of the best jokes.
For context sake, this is the Up Dog gameplay trailer.
What's up, dog?
I don't know. What's up with you, dog? I like the fact that they never actually finished the joke in the trailer.
The other guy just laughs.
The other guy just laughs, and then he was like, no, seriously, what's up, dog?
Please, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It looks great. This looks charming as shit, and I really can't wait to play it. It looks like just a real fun kind of just like doop-a-doop-a-doo, doing a thing.
Delightful.
Yeah.
I'm all about them delightful games.
Yep. Also, I want to know what that Snake Danger building was.
Nope.
From there, let's see. Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle.
Say that 3 times fast.
Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And this is, it seems like Persona Arena Ultimax meets Blaze Blue, which I know none of that means anything to Amanda.
Uh-huh.
Arc System Works makes pretty decent fighting games, and I like Persona.
This looks busy as fuck.
It really is. These games are incredibly all over the place. But, Arc System Works, they do good work. I don't know if I would pay exactly like a full $60 for this, but I might buy it when it was on sale. Let's see. I'm not sure if Killing Floor Incursion is already out on the PlayStation 5. But if it is, then and I'm thinking of the same game that they showed at the PC conference like 2 years ago at E3. It did not have as much personality as what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
Because there was just a lot of like...
Oh, there's a lot of humor to this one.
Yeah, like making little skulls talk and,
fucks with some disembodied arms and stuff.
Yeah, blasting stuff. It seems to have a fair amount of humor. This also just looks fun as hell.
Yeah, it does.
It says it has a story-driven campaign, which Killing Floor traditionally is more of like a horde mode first kind of game. So if it's a VR game with a single-player campaign that has a sense of humor and will let me chop up a zombie with a katana,
You're in.
I'll take 2. Yeah. No, I'm
2 katanas. You're gonna dual wield your katanas.
2 katanas. I like this end part where it's just holding these arms. And speaking of Killing Floor, now's as good a time as any to say that they also are putting out for the PS4 Killing Floor 2 the Krampus Christmas seasonal event.
Yay!
I'm glad that somebody's doing something because nobody...
no Christmas going on?
I don't know.
Bunch of Scrooges this year, man.
Yeah, I feel like the seasonal game is starting to get less and less of a thing.
Boo.
But yeah, this is a Killing Floor 2 level that's based on Krampus's workshop, and there's like candy cane guys and snowmen.
There's definitely an angry-looking gingerbread man in there somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like I just watched Krampus.
Yeah.
A few weeks back. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
But yeah, this is a seasonal event. I feel like Killing Floor 2 does these things where they have events that like kind of come through and you can participate in them and then they go away.
Yeah.
But this looks pretty cool. We might have to check this one out before the season is over because
it looks like it'll be a lot of fun.
We had Holiday Hoarders last year. I think that the year before, John and I played the Painkiller Christmas DLC update. So
I remember that.
And then I think the year before that was when Saints Row 4 had their Christmas update. So that. Yeah. I feel like now that we've gotten down the list a little bit, we're into just like super charming territory because Flipping Death looks
just Amanda's side of town, you know?
Flipping awesome.
Yeah, it does.
This looks. You were right when you said this totally looks like a Telltale game.
Double Fine.
Not
Telltale.
Double Fine. Yeah.
How
not
fucking
Telltale.
dare you?
Yeah. So it appears that this is a game where your character dies and you go to the other side, which is what the full Flipping Death thing is that you can flip between Death World and the regular world, and then you can like help souls kind of get their get their business finished with in the real world as a Reaper.
Yeah.
Whole thing looks like it's got a nice sense of humor. I kind of like this real wobbly art style that they've got going on here.
Yeah, I like it. It's charming. I mean, it really is the best way to. The music was great. The art is awesome. The humor seems on point. I'm in like fucking sin.
Okay. Flippin' Death is coming out next year.
Zoinks. Zoinks.
Let's just go through. A lot of these are things that I feel like aren't really all that interesting. Jupiter and Mars is a PlayStation VR game where you play as a fucking
Pair
cyber
of dolphins.
techno dolphins, which looks
When man has died.
Blah, blah. Hover is a PSVR game where you're racing on rollerblades. Blah.
Neat.
Also blah.
Blah.
Fantasy Strike. What's that?
Oh, it's like you're turning into a Dracula.
That's right.
You're blah.
I've got a lot of Dracula in me today. Fantasy Strike is a game that I feel like I've actually talked about before, which is it's very close to a game called Rising Thunder, which is a fighting game that has one-button special attacks. So instead of...
Then how am I supposed to pwn on the noobs, bro?
You're not. You're supposed to... Well, if you're actually really good at fighting games, you should still be able to do it. It's just that the barrier to entry for entering commands to do a fireball is not there. Because, that's the reason I could never be really good at a fighting game, because sometimes in Injustice 2, when I want to do fireball, I do a fireball motion, I hit the button, and nothing happens.
Yep, I know that frustration very well.
So this is the same thing that Rising Thunder was going to do, where it's going to allow players to focus on the metagame of fighting games instead of worrying about being able to actually physically do the
Sometimes
maneuvers.
It's not easy to do a fucking quarter circle.
Sure.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Quarter circle anything basically means that I have like a 50-50 shot of actually completing it.
Yeah. So I don't know. This game also is like super colorful and it looks really nice. Like it's got a very nice art style to it. So I actually am a real big fan of this as a concept. And I liked Rising Thunder quite a bit, which was my company that I believe got absorbed into Amazon's gaming division. I don't really remember exactly what happened to them, but I really, really, really like that game. And so if this game is like that, I'm a big fan. Especially anything that like, you know how Overwatch, I feel like I know a lot of people who play Overwatch who don't normally play first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Anything that can get people into a genre that they've been locked out of, I'm all for it.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a big fan.
No, I like to lock people out of stuff.
Yeah.
This game is only for me.
DJ Max Respect looks like a bunch of horse shit with techno.
Yeah.
Let's see.
DJ Max Respect sounds like what your DJ name would be, Jeff.
My name is DJ Max Respect. The wheels of steel. A couple of announcements. Moonlighter is coming to the PlayStation 4, which is the game that, if y'all remember, basically was like a Switch version of a game that looks incredibly similar to a game called Racketeer that came out a while back on the PC, where during the daytime you run an item shop to sell items to adventurers, and at night you go adventuring in a dungeon to get items to put in your adventure shop.
Yeah.
It's very charming looking. I feel like, I don't know, maybe everybody's already called this game out for being exactly that other game, but I don't know.
Still looks good, though.
Yeah. If you want to do some first-person VR Punch-Out Knockout League.
Yeah. John is so hyped for this game.
Really?
Well, what's it called? Super Mario Punch-Out? Super Punch-Out?
Mike Tyson's Punch-Out?
Mike
Super
Tyson's,
Punch-Out?
whatever. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. That's what it is one of his favorite games. So
it just seems
and this looks like
exhausting.
that. Yeah.
I liked Super Hot. That was more of a punch at people game
I like
for me.
that you get to punch ladies.
Yeah. This guy
Which might sound like I'm being sarcastic, but I mean, like, I like that they have a bunch of different characters. I like that it's like a broad.
Yeah, it definitely has a Punch-Out feel to it. Like kind of weirdo, wackadoo, nutty characters.
Yeah.
And then, and obviously a boxing game would be pretty good for VR because you got, the two move controllers and then you can use them to punch on people.
There's straight up an octopus.
There is straight up an octopus, a tea drinking octopus in this game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And a pirate called Scurvy Jones.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird characters. That's kind of also part of it.
Yeah.
It looks like fun.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other stuff, or I'm trying to look it through here, trying to pick up stuff. We got a couple games from another studio called 11-Bit. One was Children of Morta, which looks like it's just kind of a top-down action adventure-y platformy kind of, or not platforming, like a three-quarter down kind of Diablo-style hack and slash. It reminds me of a game called Hyperlight Drifter that I played, which I don't know if this is the same company. It has some really nice pixel animation work going on.
Yeah. It actually looks really beautiful to me.
It's got a very much kind of like, it's a family that adventures together, and it seems like you're going to have multiple characters that have different specialities that you'll probably switch between. Not a lot. It's funny because the beginning part really had me sold, and then the end part was like, oh, okay, so you're just hacking and slashing and running around and doing stuff. It was like, maybe. I don't know, I'd like to know some
it's like
more.
classic gameplay with some fun story elements attached to it.
Yeah.
And I think, isn't there like a crow bird king or something?
There's some kind of weird like bird monster thing here at the end.
Wah! Yeah.
Also, I believe from the same company was Tower 57, which had a very nice jazzy soundtrack.
Yeah, it almost sounded like a Bond song to me.
Yeah.
Like a James Bond song.
It appears to be just kind of a standard. This style of gameplay reminds me of classic arcade games, where it's like kind of three-quarter top-down, shooting left and right, upgrading your guns. The whole thing is it seems like you're going to have pairs of characters that kind of interact with each other. So you're going to pick together some different characters, and they have, some kind of gangster-looking guys, some science ladies, kind of stuff.
There's definitely a guy in swim trunks with a super soaker.
Yes. But it looks cool. I'm interested in this one as well.
Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like this and this Iconoclast as well. There's like a lot of just kind of classic, like there wasn't a lot of big huge game announcements. That everything was either fairly small or just clever and simple.
Well, yeah, it kind of seemed like we were venturing, or at least PlayStation this time around was venturing away from the big titles.
Yeah. This Iconoclast game has some really, really nice art to it.
Yeah, it does.
It seems to be a kind of a side-scrolling platformer, but then it also seems to have a lot of kind of character stuff going on in it. There's a bunch of different characters that seem to have like a real kind of story-rich thing with the main character. Yeah, again, very nice pixel art. Something about the gameplay isn't exactly tickling all of my
A little basic.
ivories. Yeah. But I do like...
First of all, they shouldn't have to tickle your ivories, Jeff. Jesus. Maybe just enjoy the game.
There are a lot of games out there. I'm only looking
and
for
I've got a lot of ivory.
I got a lot of ivories, y'all. Don't make me pull them out. Why are they white? Anyway, I don't know. It's funny because it looks like there's some kind of animated cutscenes that actually kind of look like they're regular animated and then just have like a pixel filter put over them.
A little bit, yeah.
But it looks kind of cool. In addition to that, there was a whole shitload of different things that were announced. We're not even totally done yet. This is just the playlist that I made. But like, there were a whole bunch of announcements, and there were like all of these long panels. Like, you know, at E3, when you get done with the E3 conference, they'll put like the 2-hour conference up on YouTube, and you can pull it up and watch it.
Yeah.
The thing for this PlayStation was 9 hours. So I'm sorry, I didn't have time to sit and watch. Like there was
9
a
hours
panel on The Last of Us that was an hour long. They didn't say any. Apparently, they didn't have any new footage, or else I feel like I would have seen that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you know what? This is all solid. Like I like a lot of the VR stuff that they're talking about.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the small games that I'm seeing. Seems interesting.
Yeah. Nothing bad to say.
So there was a trailer for Star Wars Battlefront 2. I don't really feel like this is super worth talking about just because there's not a heck of a lot going on here. It's kind of just it looks like some missions based on some of the trailers, and then they're talking about there's a single player. That's the thing, is there's a single player story add-on that continues the single player story from the main game.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me, but whatever. We're not going to talk about it too much though because
Amanda's trying to go in blind.
Yep.
We'll see how that works.
Street Fighter had some announcements.
Yay.
We're getting Sagat and Sakura in Street Fighter 5.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If there's no Dan Hibiki, I'm not playing a fucking Street Fighter game.
I don't think there's Dan Hibiki in this game.
He's the best character. He's basically the franchise.
He's a terrible character.
Yeah,
he's a joke character. They had a trailer for this that was basically just Sakura kind of kicking the shit out of people.
Yeah.
I couldn't really comment on what her style or anything is because I don't really know.
I always thought of her as Kid Ryu.
Well, she is, right?
Yeah.
She's his kind of protege, the same way that Karen is Ken's protege.
Mm-hmm.
I like Karen more because
I like Ken more.
garbage. So, yeah. From there, it looks like they also released the cinematic opening of the new Street Fighter 4.
Super cinematic.
Yeah, arcade mode.
Yeah.
Which is weird. It's like all the characters are in this kind of
like
big
stage
black,
almost.
Stage kind of open place. And everybody gets to have a few moments to do some fighting, except for Chun-Li,
who puts on lipstick and does some flippy shit.
Lipstick. It's a real weird aesthetic.
Yeah.
I don't really understand this. The character design, for Street Fighter, I feel like is pretty good still. But
it's funny, the designs are nice, but I feel like the motion for some of them are really weird.
Yeah. I think this goes on for 4 minutes.
Yeah. Everyone gets a moment.
Yeah, everyone does get a moment. Seems okay, I suppose. I was kind of psyched for Street Fighter 5 until I realized that, Street Fighter's not about just letting me have a fun game I can play here at my house or with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about online and multiplayer, and that's fine, but not for me. I'll wait for the one-button fighting game to come out. But I tell you what, if I did want to play something Street Fighter, with the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter, they're putting out a collection of, I believe it's like Street Fighter. It's weird because it's, let's see if I can see the thing that they say here, where they're like, they say something like 10 games, 30 years of Street Fighter, but like those 10 games are like Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 3 First Strike, Street Fighter 3 Second Strike, Street Fighter 1, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 12 classics. In fact, at the very end, I believe they show them all, and I can like list them down.
There you go.
So, I think that let's get all of them. Okay.
No,
well,
I think
was that all of them?
No, go further back.
Further back.
There you go. See.
Oh, that was all 12 of them. Yeah, okay. Street Fighter, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 The New Challenger, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Technically, there's only 3 games in there.
Yeah.
They're like 12. No, 4 games has Alpha. No, actually, that's not true. Alpha 1, 2, and 3 are each their own game. Street Fighter 1, 2, and 3 are each their own game. That's 6 games.
Uh-huh. And then there's a couple of remixes thrown in.
Yeah. Which, it's fine. I don't know anybody who fucking wants to play the original Street Fighter. I don't know if you remember the original Street Fighter, but
not 100%.
It was balls. It was what they call testicles.
Nah.
I don't know. It was just like really.
I was more of a Mortal Kombat girl.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, this is fine. It just, the last time that I bought Street Fighter 2 was that one that they put out on the Wii U or on the Switch, and it was bad. It was a bad port, and then I couldn't like adjust it to do stuff. I felt like there were a lot of just missing features from that game.
Yeah.
So plus the thing about Street Fighter 2, that's Street Fighter 1 right there.
I do remember it.
Yeah. Is it Street Fighter 2? Like, I don't feel like we've been living in a world where just like, I'd love to play Street Fighter 2, but I just can't get access to it anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's nary been a year where you haven't been able to get a copy of Street Fighter 2.
I mean, but it's the 30-year anniversary, and they're trying to make it do a thing.
You know what they should do? Is they should say Street Fighter 2, and they should do it with sprites like what we saw in that Blaze Blue game, like the super, super high resolution sprites.
Yeah.
I feel like they've done that before, but they didn't change the art style appropriately. I don't know. Anyway, I guess if you're into Street Fighter, you probably play. You can play online with Street Fighter 2, Hyper Fighting Turbo, Street Fighter Alpha 3, or Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. I feel like at least 2 of these have already had online play, so whatevs. You remember when I told you about how and then it's available right now?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a game franchise that Square, no, I don't believe this is Square. I believe it's a different company, put out called Romancing Saga. And it's an old game. I think it was originally a Super Nintendo game.
Hella old game.
But Romancing Saga 2 is, let's see, it was on the Super Famicom in 1993. It was originally released.
God damn.
But this is a remaster of it that's coming out for the PS4, PC, Vita, or I think it's on the PC, but at least coming out for the PS4, where they essentially kind of kept the same sprites from the original, but then have kind of remastered the background so that it looks better.
Yeah.
There's apparently a big kind of splitting, branching storylines and stuff like this. They've put in a few new things in the game to help you to get you to come back. It looks like just a real kind of throwback old school kind of game, though.
Yeah.
But that's out. By the time you hear this podcast, it'll have been out for 2 days. So that I feel like was the thing that they just announced, and then they were like, and it's out now.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
Yep. Let's kick it into high gear here. Let's see. I'm not even talking about this. It was a trailer for The Walking Dead, and it was
barely a trailer.
It was just a CGI trailer.
Yeah.
Few more actual
real
news
trailers,
items.
though.
Yeah, no more trailers. First off, there's a game coming out from the creators of Oxenfree called After Party.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention this because it sounds dope as fuck. Is that your characters are in hell, and the only way to escape is to win a drinking competition with Satan.
Sounds like something that would actually happen to you, Jeff.
Yes, it does. And that's why I can't wait to play it. I mean, everybody loves Oxenfree. I've never actually played it. And then apparently they also made the Mr. Robot phone game, I believe.
Cool.
So, yeah. Which was also, as I understand it, well received. But, yeah, that sounds like a radical proposition for a video game.
Yeah, it sounds
especially
fun.
kind of a goofy one. Yeah, I tell you what else. What other game is radical? And that's fucking Hitman.
Woo!
Never stop talking about Hitman.
Every day, all day.
All right. So if you are one of those unbelievers who has not yet experienced Hitman, or you downloaded the first episode and you were just like, this is bullshit, bye. December 15th through January 9th, IO Interactive is making it so that you can download the Paris mission, Showstopper, for free. You can also get, I believe, Holiday Hoarders. That's the submission that takes place in Showstopper.
Is that the one where you murder Santa Claus?
Yes, and where the wet bandits are the targets for you to kill.
Oh, that's right.
So if you are still on the fence about Hitman,
How's that even possible?
I don't know.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know how you can still
broken as a person.
I don't know. Also, there's going to be some kind of crazy Harry Potter game from the Pottermore people on a mobile game. If you were Harry Potter, it's called Hogwarts Mystery. It's being made for a phone game, and it's like all the experience of going to Hogwarts on your phone? Question mark.
Yay!
So,
do I have to get sorted?
I think so.
Cool.
I think so. Haven't you already been sorted?
Yeah, I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay.
I mean, I've read 2 books, so I feel like I'm pretty much an expert.
Yeah. I'm going to cut this Crytek sued Star Citizen, but it's kind of bullshit. It wouldn't, I don't know. And it was kind of if we had time to talk about it.
We never have time.
And Ni no Kuni has been pushed back a little bit. Instead of coming out in January, it's going to be coming out in March, which is where everybody's pushing their stuff back to. So apparently March of next year is going to be fucking
crazy.
Crazy. Yep.
24/7 gaming.
And last but not least, something a little nuts. Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Why is it a little nuts?
Open world drug cartel busting game from Ubisoft where you drive around Bolivia and kill people, right?
Uh-huh.
It's getting some free DLC that by the time this comes out will already be out, where your team gets to, apparently killing all of these cartel people has attracted the attention of someone or something.
Is it the Predator?
And you have to take yes, it's the Predator. And you have to take your team to destroy the Predator. So you have to
can't tell if you're kidding because it looks like the Predator.
It is the Predator.
Okay, cool. I was like, what the okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's straight up the Predator.
No, I thought you were lying to me.
No, this is like a very serious game or serious-ish game where it's just like take down the cartels, get in from the inside and destroy them. And then they're just like, also Predators there.
Don't be so good at your job. Sometimes the Predator will come after you.
Sometimes. But you know what? I really liked it. I don't wanted to mention this, is that I like the idea, just like, so Predator was already in Mortal Kombat X. And now Predator showed up in Ghost Recon Wildlands. I love the idea of just surprise Predator DLC in your video game.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like if we were just playing the Evil Within 2 and then you just heard like that.
That would be amazing.
And then just the little triple lasers come out of that thing.
Like the ghost lady's like, ooh.
And she's like, oh, fuck that.
She just walks away.
Yeah. And then you've got to fight Predator for a few minutes.
That would be great. I would be so happy.
You throw your hat in Super Mario Odyssey, and you're a Goomba.
Oh my god! You put a hat on Predator,
and then and then you eventually have to fight Predator, and then eventually you put your hat on top of Predator, and then he's like, ba-dong, ba-dong, ba-dong.
Yes. These are all good things.
I kind of just want surprise Predator DLC.
Yeah, for sure.
Surprise Predator DLC, everywhere. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. But last week, I asked for questions. We got a whole bunch of questions. So we got plenty of questions to answer.
Yay.
We'll be back in just a moment. So stick around. Stick around.
Did you leave? Because you're supposed to stick around.
Stick around, partner. Oh, we are back.
Here we are.
We got one more stretch left to go. mail@rageselect.com is the email address. Sorry, it's been a very long day for Jeff, and it is now really late at night. So our first question this week comes in from our friend Vova. Vova says, Dear Rage Master Jeff and Rage Master Amanda, hope you're all doing well. With the recent changes Patreon have made and the backlash to them, have you thought about adding monetization options besides Patreon and PayPal donations? Not that those are bad options. Would you think about adding Rage Select to a Patreon-like site that can kickstart that the Kickstarter people made? It's called Drip. I'm not sure if the details about how they work are exactly the same or not. What do you think of maybe promoting PayPal recurring donation option more or other crowdfunding websites? Bonus question, when are we going to have another shirt to buy? And then a bonus hypothetical. Kojima can give you Death Stranding a week early, but you'll have to go to his boot camp/dungeon to play the game there for a week, after which you'll be released and able to play the game with everyone else. Would you take that deal? You're a little fan of patron, Vova.
Jeff would literally do that boot camp without them offering him the game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to your hypothetical.
Yeah. Like, if I could play it a week early and I have to go there for a week, I would beat it in a week. I mean, like, if all I was doing was hang out in a dungeon playing Death Stranding, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Vova, like, if you want to up the stakes on the Kobayashi Maru, you got to throw in, like, you got to do it in a gimp suit in the dungeon.
Which
and then
he would bring his own gimp suit.
Bring Kojima canapes whenever he wants or something like that. But yeah, I would totally do that. Other question, when are we going to have a new shirt to buy? I don't have any real plans for shirts.
Yeah.
Shirts actually do, I don't know. I would like to. The main problem that I have is designs. So if there are any,
it's a very time-consuming process, and if you don't have a person whose single job is to do that, it just takes a lot.
Yeah, I don't have hardly any free time anymore. And the last shirt that we did was the Loco Steve shirt, or maybe there was the anniversary one that Grant put together. Let me just tell you, in all cases, I've had somebody help me with it, right? So at this point, I don't know about putting that on anybody that I know, but like coming up with the design and putting it together, I don't even really know how the store backend that was put into Rage Select works.
Yeah.
So I'd have to get somebody to kind of help me suss that out. I think that if somebody was interested in offering up a design or suggesting a design, I actually do have a contact now that I could probably talk to about the simplest way to do merch. And it would probably end up being like a separate website, like go to rageselect.tfury or something like that, and you can order it there. I know that I did fulfillment on those Loco Steve shirts, and I ended up stuffing most of those myself, like on my birthday. So, and then God only knows that, like, without setting up the right thing, I walked into the post office with something like 250 individually packaged T-shirts and was like, here we go.
Yeah.
And famously, that was when the manager of that post office came out 2/3 of the way through me doing it and was just like, no more. You got to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was the closest I've ever come in my life to saying, my taxes pay your salary. And especially considering I have to pay my taxes now, like I have to write the government a check as opposed to withholding.
Actually paying.
There's a part of me that's like, motherfucker, I will show you the fucking receipt I wrote for $7,500 last year for taxes. Anyway, as far as the other thing goes, this is just kind of some site stuff that I wanted to just address real fast. I have thought about it. The main issue that I have with branching out into other payment structures is that right now, Patreon is a very easy site. Everybody knows what it is. Everybody kind of knows how it works.
A lot of people are already set up on it.
A lot of people are already set up with accounts on it. It's messaged already in the how many videos do I have right now? I'm curious.
Million.
It's already messaged in all those things to shift. Like it was an idea. 2,963 total videos.
Wow. Getting real close to 3,000 videos.
Yep. So it's a sort of thing that we could make that, like, what people had asked me, like somebody actually emailed in and offered to write me up basically like a thing so that people could use PayPal to set up a recurring monthly donation. The main issue that I have with that is that it complicates matters. And if my answer to the T-shirt question wasn't enough, like, I've talked about it briefly before, but I actually have a second job that I do kind of on and off now. That's pretty time consuming. That kind of comes up every other week. So Amanda there've been several weeks where I've just been like,
You're like, I have 20 minutes to do an hour-long video. What can you make happen?
I don't know. And then on top of that, nobody tells you that, like, when you're in a relationship, you can't just say, hey, we're never going to spend any time together. I got shirts because the thing is that if it was a thing, one of the nice things about, and one of the reasons that I don't really begrudge Patreon the chunk that they take from me is that they do cybersecurity, handling people's credit cards, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They've got the back end set up for all that stuff and the infrastructure and the way that things are set up.
No, it's kind of plug and play for.
Yeah. It's really easy for me to basically just refer to a URL and people can go there. Whereas if I just set up my own thing, I don't even have an administrator right now. The front page of Rage Select is broken. I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to fix the link. I looked for it. I can't. The very link at the bottom of the webpage that says, look for more videos. Somebody was like, I just found your website. I hit more videos. I got a 404 message.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't know how to fix it. Like, please just look at these playlists that Amanda made.
Yay, playlists.
So right now, my time is just, especially around the holidays, is that I'm trying to, over the next week or two, I'm going to be like front loading along with trying to do this other job, along with trying to do a few other things, so that I can take a couple weeks off after during Christmas and the week after,
and New Year's, yeah,
just to hang for a little while. So,
a couple of minutes to breathe.
Yeah, it would be the sort of thing where if I had enough money to hire a person, or if I had enough. If I had somebody that was willing to do that, I mean, like Rage Select can use an overhaul. There's a lot of stuff that I like to do. I'd love to be able to sit down just with like Wix or Squarespace or something like that and just remake Rage Select.
Yeah.
So that at least I know where everything is.
Yeah, so that you can fix it if something goes wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
as far as Kickstarter and Drip,
yeah,
one,
not a good name.
Yeah, fuck that. What even, like, because you can call the people that donate to you patrons. What the fuck do you call them?
Drippies.
Drippers.
Hey, Drippies. No. Welcome to your bonus videos.
But I looked through their FAQ and I felt like it was really sparse and they aren't very specific on how it works. So I would be really reluctant. Not that I think it's like a ripoff, but until they can tell you how it actually fully functions, I wouldn't trust it enough to be comfortable being like, hey guys, throw your money through here. And then
well, the only one that I would consider would be that you could set up a PayPal recurring payment.
Hear me out. A P.O. box, and then people can just send you money, like cash dollars.
Pretty sure that's illegal to just mail cash through the mail.
Mail cash.
Unless you're
Put a stamp on a $1 bill and send it straight to us.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Mail Cash. Get 5% off your first Mail Cash order using offer code Rage Select at checkout. Click on the bell. Mail Cash.
Mail Cash.
Yeah, so that's it, Vova, is mostly a lot of the stuff. Trust me, I mean, like, I've talked about it for a while now. I've had an idea, at least a couple of ideas for videos that were more produced, more like write a script, capture the footage that I want to capture, and then kind of edit together like a longer form video. The main thing is just time. Like, it's time consuming, and my life has expanded to be all time.
Yeah.
All time. I got 5 hours of sleep.
He used to just cease to exist for a few hours, but now he has to exist the whole time.
Yes. Yeah. I used to just poof out. So, all right. So that's enough site stuff. Our next one comes in from Bo the Buddha, who says, long time no see, dear and lovely Rage Lords and ladies.
Yeah.
It's been a busy year for me study-wise, but I've been listening to the podcast. I'm up to date with the videos as well. And now it's time for me to return with the hard-hitting questions and rattle some brains. Seeing how Kojima is now unchained Kojima and is making something totally different, I've noticed some backlash from the community saying that these trailers are just Koji being pretentious with his craft. He's not showing any gameplay footage and just these cryptic trailers, which might be a cause for concern. Is Kojima going over his head and trying to make something too ambitious that might flop upon release? Some are comparing Death Stranding to No Man's Sky. I personally am not worried because his track record is pretty much spotless. What do you guys think? I also wanted to quickly thank you for the amazing content that has helped keep me sane over the past 11 months while doing research and writing my master thesis, while also keeping a part-time job. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have mustered up the courage to write an academic paper on video games. Much love and respect from your friendly Balkan resident, Bo the Buddha.
You're fucking welcome, bro.
Yep.
I am really happy. I'm not a Kojima like diehard fan, but
yeah,
I'm not Jeff. But I like that Kojima is overambitious, and I think there's a difference between overambitious and overpromising.
Yes,
because the trailer is showing so much ambition, where in No Man's Sky it felt like you were just being told things were going to be a certain way.
Yeah, there was some stuff that was in the trailer for No Man's Sky, like the trailer for No Man's Sky and what originally came out. I know that there's there's discrepancies, right?
Yeah.
But it's not entirely wackadoo and different. The main thing that I would say is that Kojima is a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not just as Kojima a veteran, but like he's a veteran who's made like, okay, Metal Gear Solid 1 through 5 plus Peace Walker, that's 6. Plus, I think that he was at least director on Portable Ops or Ghost Babel or something like that. But then he also made games before that: Police Knot, Snatcher, Buktai 2. Like I don't think that putting him in the No Man's Sky camp is fair because I feel like he has what No Man's Sky did of over-promising and under-delivering is not a thing that Kojima this is debatable.
Yeah.
Like some people would look at Metal Gear Solid 4, which didn't have that much gameplay and had a lot of cutscene, and they felt kind of betrayed by it. I saw it as the finale of a long series, and so I was more than happy with MGS4. I actually went back and played it before 5 came out, and it does have too many cutscenes, but I like the cutscenes, so I'm biased. But with this, the strange thing is that I feel like what that complaint is a weird complaint. It's like, well, you need to show us the gameplay in your game. All you're doing is showing us these wackadoo trailers. Where's the gameplay? And it's like, well, that's kind of the prerogative of the person who makes the game, right? Again, say what you will about Hideo Kojima, but he knows gameplay. Like MGS5 had some story problems and some overall world issues, but the actual second-to-second gameplay in that was so good that Konami just is making another game. That's what we're talking about at the beginning, right? So I don't think, he also made PT, which is just, creative and interesting. I'd rather him fail trying to be too ambitious than be too restrained and not feel like he could do what he wants.
It's a weird thing to be like, you have too many ideas, maybe tone down your good ideas.
Right. Also, and this is a little culturally biased, but I also feel like as a person who worked with Konami for so long and worked in the Japanese game industry so long, I feel like, I don't know, there's a lot of Kojima games that I feel like have taken a long time to come out, but when they finally came out, they were worth the wait. Like the things that the detail that he puts into his games are worth the amount of time that he takes refining it. And I think that shows. I mean, so far, like I haven't really super disliked any of his games. 5 was less than I wanted it to be, but some of that was my own expectation and coming into it with with my own baggage.
Yeah. God damn, this trailer is like a weird acid trip.
This is the first time I just skipped to the middle of this trailer. Trust me, it doesn't make any more sense if you watch it from the beginning.
I don't doubt that.
I like the baby in the throat. That's with the thumbs up. That's a weird one. So I don't know. I'm not overtly concerned. And to be quite frank about it, to be brutally honest, it would be like if, because last week we also got a trailer for the next From Software game, and let's just say that, let's say Death Stranding is horrible. It's No Man's Sky terrible, right? Which even No Man's Sky has gotten a lot better since release. But let's say that this is Kojima's worst game that he's ever made. In my opinion, motherfucker's earned a miss. Yeah. Because I've enjoyed pretty much every one of his games that I've played. So if he tries too hard, if he shoots too high and he ends up making a bad game, to me that's okay. Again, he spent a long time in the Metal Gear ecosystem playing it safe and making more Metal Gear games. Motherfucker deserves one. Yeah. And if we're all going to play it and then be like, well, I guess he needs to be reined in.
I support it. It's crazy. It's weird. And it's not like anything. I mean, somebody I think argued against it, but I think it's nothing like anything we've seen before. It might be playing in the same genres of other games, but this shit's fucking weird. All right, yeah. I can't be like, oh, let me just Google this other trailer and it's just like this. Like, you're not gonna get that. Yeah. And I, much like in movies, I fully support the people that do something fucking totally different.
I think if you don't have people taking big chances, then you never get the big wins.
Yeah.
And sometimes that also means big losses, but I'd rather have big wins and big losses.
The juice is worth the squeeze.
Exactly. Like I stopped playing Assassin's Creed Origins because it just seemed like middle of the road pap, you know, and like I'm interested in games that push the envelope and try a new thing more than I am, and maybe even fail than I am, other stuff. Plus, there's a zillion goddamn video games, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm hurting for stuff to play. There's too many games that I want to play right now.
Yeah.
Not enough games. So
there's a game where you're in like a pot and you swing a sledgehammer.
You're speaking of Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy?
Correct, yes.
And then the developer tells you how, like, sometimes you lose a lot of progress.
Yeah, as you lose a lot of progress.
He doesn't even say, like, and that's okay. He's just like,
it
that
happens,
sucks, right? And you're like, yeah.
That makes you feel bad, huh?
Yeah. Let's see. This one does not have a signature, so I'm going to say it's from C. CeeLo says, hello, awesome messengers of the Dawn Lords. I'm just going to cut to the chase and get to my question. Is there a game or other form of media that was considered a ripoff of something, but you consider it better than what it's ripping off? For example, I'm a huge fan of Let It Die and would dare say that I think that it's better than Dark Souls, the game everyone says it's ripping off. In my opinion, I just think it's just more fun and has better characters to keep me interested. As always, have a great... it says whenever you're reading this, so have a great Friday? I guess we're Friday now.
Yeah.
We tipped
started
over.
in Thursday.
And long live the rage. And that's from C. You know what? If you like Let It Die better than Dark Souls, that's...
I'm just happy you like a video game.
Motherfucker, as always, yeah. I'm not part of this goddamn system war game pride.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what do you mean that Dark Souls 2, you liked it more than Dark Souls 1, you idiot? Like... You know, I've been on the receiving end of too much of that to ever do that to anybody else.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think of stuff that I thought that people have said were like ripoffs, and
I got one. Darksiders. Darksiders was the best Zelda game I played in years. Even though it was a Titanic Zelda, it was unabashedly just like ripping off Zelda.
Sometimes that works out for the best, though.
Yeah, did it way better, though.
I can't think of a single one, but I know there were because I'd be like, straight up this. But
what about like movies? Like someone gets a rip off of another movie, but it was better. I was going to say The Thing, but that's not a rip off. That's a remake.
Yeah, and it was
technically, I think we would call that a reimagining at this point.
It's a reboot.
Let's see. Trying to think. Oh, I got another one. Another one. Saints Row.
Oh, yeah.
Saints Row the Third.
Oh, I thought it was like unashamed to be like, yeah, we're ripping off of, we're just an HD
but
rip off of.
Saints Row the Third has value in and of itself, and you can make an argument about that it's better than GTA 4.
For me, Saints Row is definitely the better game because the gameplay, the humor, the imagery, it all plays more to my sensibilities than what Grand Theft Auto has ever done.
Okay.
So fuck Grand Theft Auto. Pew, 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 pew.
I like GTA 4. It's just, it is a very down-to-earth, like, crime story.
Yeah.
So, and Saints Row 3 is just, like, like just fucking going nuts. So,
it's great for it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of movies. You know, when like you get the same weekend, you get Armageddon and Deep Impact, or I'm trying to think. It was like Dante's Peak and other. Oh,
I got one. I got another one. Harry fucking Potter is actually it's okay. It is the monomyth. It is essentially the Once and Future King.
Yeah.
It's it's
every young
chosen
adult, blah,
exactly.
blah, blah. Yeah.
But it's also a ripoff of a few other things. Like there's a story called Books of Magic that I like to bring up that was a DC, like a Hellblade, like a John Constantine.
Oh, that's right.
And it's like a kid who's got the chosen one, and he's fucking got glasses and like looks like Harry Potter. Yeah. So
straight up.
Yeah. You know what? Do you know what is a total? Well, do you know what started as a total ripoff of Flash Gordon?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
So there's a ripoff that
worked out.
Worked better than the original.
Mm-hmm.
I like Flash Gordon, but not as much as I like Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's such an interesting story. Motherfucking George Lucas just ripped off Flash Gordon and then changed the details until it was far enough away to not be a ripoff.
I mean, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
All the time. Watch anything Max Landis does, because he has a tendency to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he writes movies so often that he kind of just starts from the idea of one movie and then branches away from another, or to another.
Oh, I got a comic one.
Do it.
The Authority. So in the mid-90s, you may or may not know this, but in the mid-90s, Warren Ellis took over, I think first. Did Alan Moore do it first and then Warren Ellis took over? Yes. Okay, so there was a company called Wildstorm, Image Comics. Wildstorm had a group called Stormwatch, and it was a Rob Liefeld beefy characters doing stuff.
No fee, extra pockets.
Right. It was just like, ooh, what if it was the Justice League, but they all had guns and they were extreme? And then I think that at a certain point, either it was like Warren Ellis or Alan Moore, somebody came and they took it over, and then that mutated into the Authority, which I actually think is really interesting because this is a tangent, not to go too far off on, but I've actually told you about this before, is that, there's a lot of people, there's a conversation to be had about the diversity that you see in comics. And the Authority, which was out in, I'm gonna look it up while I'm talking about it, was out, I believe, in the late 90s, was a Justice League style team led by a woman that had two characters, Apollo and the Midnighter, which were basically gay Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
And they were awesome.
Yeah.
And it was, in a lot of cases, better than the stuff that it came off of. And actually, let's see. So, 1999, the first Authority came out. Yeah. But as a ripoff, Ellis liked to do this a lot too. He did it in Planetary, where the Planetary is a few characters. One that's like 100-year-old guy with ice powers. One of them is this woman that's just very, very strong, and one of them is this guy called the Drummer that can talk to computers. And they're part of an organization that's like archaeologists of the strange. And like their first case takes them to Monster Island, and they find like the corpse of a kaiju. And what's interesting is as that story progresses, it turns out that there's that the people that they're up against, that the bad guys, are the Fantastic Four. And that it's basically like, say, they went out, and when they came back with their powers, they used their powers to basically just like take over the world, and they're fighting against this kind of crypto war against them. And both of those stories actually take place in the same universe. They have some crossover stuff.
Ooh, weird.
Like Jenny Sparks, who's the leader of the Authority, is the same kind of person as Elijah Snow, the leader of Planetary, is that they're both 100 years old. It's just that Snow has lost his memory and Jenny Sparks is. So anyway, but those concepts, like Supreme, when Alan Moore went and wrote Supreme, he was just writing Superman stories that DC would never let him write.
Yeah.
And he's fucking with the continuity.
I mean, comic books are full of that.
Yeah. There's
characters
a lot
where
of.
they're like, I want a Spider-Man, but I can't have him in DC.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you get that all the time.
Oh yeah, Astro City did that too. They had the first arc was Samaritan, who was their Superman, and some assorted stories, and then the second arc was about a character called the Confessor, who was a vampire, but he was essentially Batman, and it was like him taking on a new Robin, and then like kind of it was from the Robin sort of point of view. And then the third one was called not All in the Family. That's a different thing. Something about the Family Ties or Family Matters or some 80s sitcom name.
There's a lot of sitcom names you just threw out, sir.
Yeah, and it was about a character called Jack in the Box that was Spider-Man, except he was like a Harlequin that shot like confetti and stuff, but he was essentially Spider-Man.
Confetti arms.
Yeah,
I tried to create a D&D character that had confetti arms.
Yeah,
or like not. It was a role-playing game, but it was essentially D&D roles, but they were superheroes, and they were like, you got to come up with like a unique superpower, and I was like, confetti arms.
Confetti arms.
And they said no, and I was like, not even shoots out confetti, like literally confetti would just fall to the ground when he unraveled his arms.
So his arms were like streamers? They
were like, what are the things that you like blow on and they were like roll out?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they would do that, and then the confetti would just hit the ground.
Right.
And then they would roll back in.
Okay.
Like the most useless superhero ever. I came up with it. I got one.
Okay.
So people might argue about this, but I really like Digimon,
Okay.
and that was basically a Pokemon ripoff.
Oh yeah. I say, oh yeah. No, I've watched Digimon. Totes.
Faux show.
Would you consider the Ghostbusters to be a ripoff of the Ghostbusters cartoon show where they busted ghosts?
No, that's
far superior.
Or
Knight Rider was just a Herbie the Love Bug ripoff, and that was way
oh man, I would love to see that battle.
Yeah.
I really like Street Sharks and Biker Mice from Mars, and those are both the Ninja Turtle ripoffs.
Samurai Pizza Cats. Anything that has like 4 descriptors and one of them is an animal name.
Yeah. I love them all.
Yeah.
VR Troopers was good. So was Big Bad Beetleborgs, and those are both Power Ranger ripoffs.
Okay, nobody has to come at me.
Oh, but they will.
Nobody has to come at me about this because I'll say it. But when I was a kid, there was GoBots. And GoBots were a thing, and they were a thing for several years before the first Transformer came onto the scene. And when they first came out, I remember kind of being like, Transformers. And I was like, holy shit, these are so much better than GoBots. Like
GoBots are the Kmart Transformers.
They suck. But anybody can figure out how to transform a GoBot. It takes like a 40-page instruction manual to transform.
Jurassic Park is basically a ripoff of Dino Riders.
And now we're just making these like tenuous ripoffs. This is a weird one that works in video games, but I feel like in some ways, Splinter Cell is a Metal Gear Solid ripoff.
I think you can argue that.
And that in some ways...
poorly, but sure.
Yeah. I think in some ways Splinter Cell is better, and that as it went on, it got its own thing. Even though I really like Metal Gear, you can make an argument. I don't think I'm the person to make that argument. I don't think I'm the person. No, I'm not the person to make.
I'm just going to throw the argument on the floor and let you guys pick it up.
So you do whatever you want to. There's the argument. You do whatever you want to with it.
It's yours now.
Okay.
I wipe my hands of it.
Yeah, man. The Authority was a great comic.
You keep throwing The Authority out at me so often that I feel like I have to read it.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Everybody should read it.
Do it.
Yep. Oh, Transmetropolitan is basically just Hunter S. Thompson in the future.
Oh, yeah. You can't just rip off somebody's life.
All right. Steven writes in and says, hey, attractive Jeff and attractive Amanda.
Did he say less attractive?
Yes.
You son of a bitch.
Taco Bell update from a question a few weeks ago. Sadly, the Australian menu is not the same as the American, but I can tell you that the cheesy gordita crunch is amazing.
Yeah.
Of course it is. I had them rolled chicken tacos last night. They're just fucking taquitos.
Taquitos, yeah.
They're just taquitos, Taco Bell.
But they don't have anything good to dip them in. Their guacamole's not that good, and
I just get the cheese. It's not great, but I mean,
to me, taquitos need
sauce,
guacamole.
Oh, okay.
And I can't do it with the guacamole they have.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Anyway, Stevens, and a question more aimed at Jeff. What are your thoughts on the mass cracked firing that happened earlier this week? I started listening to their podcast based off your suggestion, and am now needing suggestions on others to fill the void. Proud and loyal patron, Steven. So, first off, I wonder if because they fired a lot of the people that I didn't like listening to as much, if there's just going to be a lot more David Wong on the podcast, which I kind of like listening to David
You're
Wong.
like, no, I have to listen to my favorite person to listen to.
I mean, I stopped listening to it when he stopped being on it because it turned into more just kind of, I don't know, just kind of like wackadoo, like 5 movies where the ending totally didn't make any sense. And it's like, oh, really? Only 5?
What's his name? O'Brien?
No, it's because Jack O'Brien left 6 to 8 months ago.
Okay, yeah.
So,
but his brother, there's two O'Briens, they were brothers.
Are they brothers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they called each other brothers unless they fucking lied to me. Would they do that? Just go on the internet
and lie?
Fucking lie?
Well, I think Daniel O'Brien is still there because the people that left, I believe, were like J.F. Sargent, who made that video that you and I watched about, like, why video games are stupid. It was
he left?
Yeah.
Good. Go suck a fuck, dumb shit. God, I hated that guy.
Thomas Ryman left.
Let him know. Let him know I fucking hate him.
What's really funny is that I don't think that they let any of the women go. I feel like most of the kind of chaff dudes. I know Alex Schmidt is still there, but the one that really confused me was I don't know how much you actually watch Cracked, but Cracked had a show called Some News,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of like their news show where it was just Cody Johnston, who's the guy that has, he's like a 5 o'clock shadow. He's kind of got a baby face, and he was just in a suit behind a news desk, basically really sarcastically doing kind of political commentary. That was the best show they had.
They got rid of him?
And they got rid of him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Is he one of the After Hours guys?
no.
Okay.
The core, he's on the alt After Hours where it's
Okay.
3 women and a dude that nobody liked. But what's crazy is
was
that
garbage.
I went to their YouTube channel the other day, and it's been a week, 0 videos. They're putting out a video a day. This happened, I think, around December 7th, and
they just stopped.
They had a podcast this week, and they're still posting stuff on their website, but the video content, gone. Or at least it's gone from the YouTube channel. I know they used to put stuff on their site first, like we do, and then publish
Their
it.
player is garbage, though. Didn't they have a really piss poor... Or do they do YouTube still?
I think they did YouTube.
Their site just always crashed for me. I guess because I do mobile and I don't have it.
I went out and I looked at some stuff, and apparently they have a parent company that bought them 4 or 5 years ago. They were down something like 7.78% this third quarter, which, because they're actually a multi-million-dollar enterprise, meant that they were $7 million less profitable than they were last year.
I wonder if they halted all...
Oh, John Cheese. They also let John Cheese go, which is funny because he's David Wong's real good friends.
Yeah. Those are the 2 main ones that you hear about the most, really.
Yeah.
For me, anyway. And I
don't think Dan O'Brien, Katie, or but
Katie's not... She's like an independent. She's pulled in independently. She's not actually a part of Krampus.
Soren, and then who's the other guy with the big beard?
Yeah.
Swaim, David Swaim.
Mm-hmm.
He's still. I remember seeing. It's funny because, to be honest, Steven, I don't know how much of their YouTube content you watch.
It depends. I go through flows of watching a bunch of their shit and then stop watching.
Yeah, it's real spotty. Sometimes I like it, but their video game show, Escort Mission, I think that it's just awful. Yeah. It's just not very funny.
Garbage. Yeah.
Some of the stuff that they talk about, I think that on the last podcast, David Wong actually brought up a really interesting point, which was he was talking about how after Trump's election, how everybody basically has to have a political slant.
Mm-hmm.
I actually feel in a lot of ways that Rachel might even be hurt by not
being political enough.
Yeah,
picking a side.
Yeah, picking a side and sticking with it, which I we all have a side. It's just that I'm not. I honestly feel like there should be one refuge on the internet where you don't have to listen to this shit 24 hours a day.
We're on the side of video games.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that he actually made a pretty good point that if you were, they obviously lean to the left, and if you were a conservative person who was like, I like reading your 10 things about Back to the Future you never thought about, or 12 ways that sewage treatment is the most interesting job in the world.
Yeah.
And then suddenly half of everything that you were getting was just Trump is a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
That you would be like, I came here for the Batman lists, not for this. I used to be a lot. I don't know if I'm a misogynist asshole, but
100%.
that JF Sargent thing I thought was really turned me off, where he was just nobody cares about the story in video games, right, you guys? And I'm like, nah, bro.
Yeah, you're on your own, homie.
I actually really like Alex Schmitz. He does a thing that's history with hats, where he puts on a hat and then talk he'll put on a pirate hat and then talk about why piracy is nothing like what you thought it was. And I'm like, that's cool. I like finding out stuff.
Yeah.
And I really liked Cody Johnson's Some News show.
But sometimes they just do 2 people sitting at a table, free form talking about some topic.
Well, they used to have a show called Today's Topic that was actually pretty good, but those were obviously scripted.
Yeah, no, but they've definitely had a few that were, and they trick you, to me, with thumbnails that imply that they're a edited written video, and then you click on it and it's pulled from a live stream off of Facebook and shit, and it's just them we just saw a movie, we're gonna talk about why it's garbage. It's they
apparently have just a revolving door invitation to the Upright Citizens Brigade Sunset, because half their podcasts over the last year have just been their live shows, which are always more rambly and less put together than the actual podcast when it was just straight up recorded. They had a second podcast that they had that they put on their main feed called like Best Ever, and it was like best episode of 30 Rock ever. And they just talked for like 40 minutes about like what were some of the good things in 30 Rock, and I'm kind of like, this isn't like interesting. There's something about subverting pop culture. Like, did you ever realize that like, you know, this thing happened in Back to the Future? If you look at the timeline, like there's actually kind of this weird thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, hey guys, 30 Rock, right?
You guys like 30 Rock?
Yeah. Wasn't it great? And it's like
comment, subscribe.
Right. I mean, because I remember, like, I'm not trying to be. There's a section of the internet that would be a little bit more upsetting about this, but I feel like there was a certain point where their content changed from like parody, like they had that whole Jedi school thing, and like the Welcome Back Potter, where it was like old Harry Potter. They had these skits that were fun, that were interesting.
They always, for me, went back and forth as I slowly lose my voice more and more.
Yeah.
To me, they go through like a few months of something. It feels like they're constantly like trying something out and never fully commit to anything.
Right.
Like After Hours is literally the only thing that they fully committed to.
Well, and Dan O'Brien's Obsessive Pop Culture Disorder.
Yeah, but he had switched that to some long form one, and then he went backwards on it.
Yeah.
Because that turned into a thing that he experimented with.
To be honest,
it's also not half as long run as the After Hours.
Oh yeah,
because After Hours has been going on for like since the beginning.
To be honest, Stephen, I feel like if I had to sum up from an outsider point of view, it seems to me like at a certain point, Cracked decided that they were gonna take a stand and start doing more political and cultural content. And that they got a lot of backlash for that. I know because I used to go read the comments, and it seemed like there were a lot of people that were just like, I remember when this site used to be funny, stupid assholes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm no stranger to, seeing people talk like that in the comments, but I feel like their attitude towards that was just like, look, we're doing the right thing. People will come around eventually. Yeah. And they probably just started losing subscribers, and then they started flailing, trying different things, and none of that really worked.
Works as somebody who is in a website.
And that they ended up losing money, and they end up having to fire people.
I mean, I'm kind of interested in what are any of the articles that they're posting right now timely? Like, are they?
Let's
recent?
take a look. Let's. Anyway, I got a web browser.
I'm wondering if they have a full stop and they're just posting what they have. Does that?
I think they're still writing articles.
Okay.
Because see here, this is
things we should
this
have.
This is by a reader, Cracked Readers, Jim McNabb, Robert Evans. See, this is Jim.
Because there's
McNabb.
no way like they could also very much have the like holiday stuff pre-written.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this stuff is by. The other thing that they have that I don't know if a lot of people know is that Cracked has a thing where if you go to their forums, you can kind of submit articles.
Yeah.
And if they like them well enough, one of their editors will essentially work with you to polish it into an article for the website. And so it's also, I don't know if I don't actually read the articles on Cracked as much anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether these are... I don't know whether these are their
writers
current writers or whether they're just volunteer stuff or whether they're just headhunting, and keeping a small group.
Yeah, because I kind of wonder if they're just like bare bones running this right now and then they're making a decision.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like that's the end. Or at least that they're going to just like straight up.
Or at least pull back to 3 editors, occasional After Hours, and Obsessive Pop Culture Disorder. And that's like not
I
much
feel
else,
like
right?
Maybe not even.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, usually the writing's on the wall, and sometimes in a lot of, especially parent companies that don't know what the fuck they're doing, like to do a thing where they're like, well, everyone's replaceable because the name Cracked is what matters and not the people that are in it.
Sure.
And then they like get rid of everyone, and then they just bust in a new group of like young interns who don't know what they're doing.
We don't have to pay them.
Yeah, and they just go like, we just need camera ready people. We don't care if they can write. We don't care if they're funny, and they just go forward from there.
I don't know. All I know is that it's
just saying might happen.
I watch Jim Sterling way more than I watch cracked these days. So
yeah.
Will writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Amanda. I know people like to talk about their favorite canceled video games or games that are stuck in development hell that will probably never see the light of day. But allow me to ask a slightly different question. What is your most memorable game that you were looking forward to that then got canceled, but after it was canceled, you realized it probably wasn't going to be that good anyway? Basically, games that got canceled and probably deserved it. My choice would be, surprisingly, Half-Life 3. Half-Life 3 has not yet been officially canceled. As much as I loved all the other Half-Life games, I finally had to admit that Half-Life 3 was just never going to happen. Plus, Half-Life and Half-Life 2 were both famous for reinventing or revolutionizing the FPS genre, which isn't really in need of being revitalized right now. Thanks, Will. Allow me to just say that I think that the FPS genre could use a little vitalization.
Just a bit.
A little vitamin water,
Yeah.
little Sobe Life water.
Yeah.
That's a really difficult
Splash
and
of Mountain
specific.
Dew, even.
Yes. That is a really specific and difficult question to answer.
Yep.
Games that you were interested in that got canceled, and after they were canceled, you were like, oh.
Yeah, that's... I'd have to go all the way back to... The only games that I can think of that were even canceled that I was looking forward to was... I want to say it was called Star Wars 1313.
Mm-hmm.
That I was like, I think that sounds amazing.
Yep.
And then it was canceled. And then...
but I think that still looked good.
Yeah, there's no part of me that's like, that would have been shit.
Yeah.
And then the Del Toro... what's he doing?
Silent
Hills.
Hills?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that looked great.
Yeah, exactly. But those are the only two that I can think of that I was like hyped for. I can't think of anything that I was like,
man, it just occurred to me after the conversation that we just had that, like, I look at that Death Stranding trailer and the craziness that's there, and like, man, what if that guy was making a fucking horror game? What if that crazy asshole was making a horror game?
he'll get there. It's fine. Don't worry about it. As long as he stays away from Guillermo del Toro, because that guy has like a batting average of like 15% of the movies projects he tries to make get made.
Games that were canceled that looked good and then in retrospect were probably going to end up being bad. I don't think I have an answer for that, Will, because I think anything that I thought looked good to me still seems good in retrospect. And anything that it looked bad.
I'm just a sucker for potential, and all of them had potential.
Okay.
In theory.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Will. I don't know that I have an answer for that. I don't know that I really have.
Failed you, Will.
Sorry, Will. So sorry. All right, we got a couple more questions, then we're going to wrap it up. This next question comes in from Greg. Greg says, hey, Jeff and Amanda. It's been a while since I sent you guys an email. Years, in fact. That being said, I've managed to go from a simple viewer to a loyal patron. And goddamn, I don't know how you expect me to watch all these extra Patreon videos.
Quit your job. Just start watching the videos.
No. He needs the job to be able to pay for the Patreon. So
work only the amount of hours it takes to pay for the videos.
Okay, there you go. All jokes aside, I'm worried about the new year, though, and the threat of losing net neutrality in these recent Patreon upcharges. With all the hard work that you've done for your website and your fans, I'm sure all these issues are weighing on your mind heavily, and I was wondering how you're dealing with it all. You and Jason started this website almost immediately after my first child was born in 2013.
Goodness.
So I've seen the progress and growth that you have had alongside my son. I know it sounds a little weird, but I kind of look at you as a distant uncle-like figure who I've never met in person. You're an inspiration to hardworking people like me, Jeff, and I want you to succeed. Thank you for the countless hours of entertainment you have provided and continue to provide for me. If I ever find myself in Texas, I'll make a point to come to Austin just to buy you a beer. You're a little patron, Greg. So I scanned to be I usually don't read just like, whoa, Jeff, you're the best. I was scanning this email, but I liked the idea of somebody who had a kid right around the time that we started this website, and now it's like
that poor child.
That child and our website are the same age. That's weird.
My firstborn child, Rachel Murphy Jeff.
Hey, why does Jason get to me first?
But this is a good news, bad news situation. Good news is Patreon rolled back on the fee stuff.
Sure enough.
Bad news, net neutrality is gone.
So I had an interesting conversation today with somebody about
didn't.
net neutrality.
Straight up did not. She's just lying.
And they were like, you realize I honestly don't agree with this statement, but it could be a thing to give people hope. that technically speaking, up until about 2.5, 3 years ago, there was also no like law about net neutrality. Like, if a company decided they were going to try some horse shit, then their customers could be like, "Go fuck yourself. We're going to go somewhere else," which is not always the case these days. But it's an interesting thing to think about. It's interesting mental exercise.
Yeah, it's just still not great. Just because it's like, well, we didn't wear helmets before on our motorcycle, and we didn't crash and destroy our brains. So I don't know why you're worried about us not having a helmet now.
The only thing that the other argument that this person made, and I just don't know if they want me telling their views on the internet, but like, was that.
But here's their view.
well, by name, right? But that you could get into a situation where, without net neutrality, companies that do like wired internet service, if they get oppressive, you may create an ecosystem for somebody to come in with something truly disruptive in the technology realm to break up that thing. Like, imagine iTunes, right? Is that like the music industry, lockstep RIAA, $16 a fucking CD, et cetera, and then suddenly this other company comes in with a new delivery service for the existing product and just destroys that market because they can't go fast enough. So if you think, now this is unfortunately a good news, bad news situation, because it means that like if the market gets locked down and we all start to have less freedom, but then somebody comes along and they're like, I've developed a new tech that lets you get wireless internet as fast as fiber, and it's fucking cheap as hell. Yeah. Like, and it's $20 a month, right? And you get it through your cell phone. Like, I have this new system set up where you can essentially carry a super fast internet signal using this new encryption technology, or blah, 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 right? And that you can get this, and you can now run your home internet off of your phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot instead of dealing with Verizon or Comcast or AT&T or whoever. Then the pressure that kind of market creates may allow somebody to come in and then break that market, but that's waiting for a hero. Exactly. Which is, well, sort of, but I also feel like in a capitalist system, there's a huge amount of money to be made there as well, right? That if you can find a technology that's that disruptive and you can keep them from buying it. And I still don't trust corporations. It's not like I've turned around on this, but there's just interesting things to think about. Yeah. Also, that Agit Pie guy, he's such a fucking shit-eating grin. Just like a shit-eating grin on that guy. Yeah. There was another guy, I don't remember, it was an image or post to one of the other people that was voting on that. It was just like, we didn't read any of the comments. We don't care about the comments. Fuck your comments. Yeah. And it's like, oh, good. Yep. Excellent.
Glad they didn't care about what the people had to say.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a
downer.
Doom.
Boo.
That's a gloomy doom. There's a good question to ask you, though, Amanda, because it says the question that was inside of all this was kind of like, issues are weighing on you. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with when you get something on your mind, Grapes?
I have a tendency to just eat and drink and then curl into a ball and sob quietly. Mm-hmm. Or I watch a lot of movies. I am right now. My big thing is listening to podcasts about the history of Hollywood. Or like I listen to history of Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff, like their whole life story.
Sure.
Focus mainly
lovely couple.
Weren't they just beautiful? Focus mainly on the Universal horror movies that they were in, and then I watch a bunch of horror movies. So I've really just been kind of
this escapism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was kind of raised on people don't believe me. I would literally rent as many movies as Blockbuster would allow you to rent for the week, or like 3 days or whatever it is. And then every weekend go to the movies, like the theater, and watch movies. So it was like some people went to church.
Right.
The movies is my church. So I just go and I fucking worship the God that is the silver screen.
Okay.
So I've just kind of been getting back into it.
Yeah, that just brings up, like, you remember when Alamo instituted the, like, if you don't get there by the time the movie starts, you can't come in, and they're just like, because the cinema is a sacred place, and we don't want you.
Yeah, I don't like that because that's stupid. Though.
Well, especially when they make you buy an assigned seat. It would be different if it was general admission, but if they make you buy an assigned seat, it's not like you're going to be searching for your seat. Anyway, I think I often tell people that that's a good solution, is you just get the fuck away from your problems for a couple of hours, watch a movie, play a game, watch a TV show.
I know one that you would appreciate is unplug.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like, I don't care if you're, plugging in to play video games or watch a movie or TV or whatever, but, like,
social media.
Don't check Facebook. Like, you need a couple hours. I like to do it right before bed, where I just have a couple hours where I'm not, like, fucking refresh.
Sure.
And I do whatever else, watch whatever John and I are watching, like My Hero Academia right now.
Mm-hmm.
I apparently watch anime. And
we got another one. Ding ding ding.
No,
ding, ding,
it
ding,
happens.
We got another one.
John and I will watch like one, and then he'll be like, "Are you into it now? Let's watch this." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. Go for it on your own." And like 6 years later, I watch another one.
Yeah. When the fuck is One Punch Man season 2 coming out?
Right? Fucking doesn't matter.
Was that last year that One Punch Man came out?
I feel like it was 2 years ago.
I think it's last year.
I don't know, man.
I think it was early last year.
These years are getting longer and longer, Jeff.
This is a thing that the other day that I had to then turn away from was like, oh, this is year 1. There's three more coming up. There's 3 more 2017s left to go minimum, with this amount of insanity when it comes to culture and politics, and everybody's just fucking mad, hair on fire all the time.
Well, with net neutrality, maybe they'll just prevent us from seeing all of it.
Oh, please. Yeah. If I could take that giant Reese's cup and put it over my phone.
But it's good for you to unplug. There are actual studies that say that if you unplug before you go to bed, you are less likely to be depressed when you wake up in the morning.
I highly, highly, highly recommend to everybody to go to the store. They are cheap. I think you can get one for $70 or $80. Buy yourself a Kinder
egg. Those
is that
candy?
Tinder for children? No.
Wow.
A Kindle
I don't know, Jeff.
Paperwhite. Kindle Paperwhite is, and you can get books.
Read some books, you uncultured swine.
No, but see, that's the thing, is that I'm in book 3 of a new franchise that I found that's like 12 books, and it's all about this. It's the Honor Harrington series, and it's like this lady starship captain and her cat that sits on her shoulder, this alien cat that sits on her shoulder, and she's telling her people, like, let's go and blow up some ships. And I'm on book 3 of that. And so the thing about the Kindle Paperwhite that a lot of people maybe don't know is that, unlike a cell phone, the backlight of the Kindle Paperwhite is not a backlight. It's actually coming in from the sides.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not shining into your face, which means that it's not, because the blue light of your phone will tell your brain it's daytime.
My phone actually has a
which doesn't help for me because I have a blue light in my studio.
I know.
So.
My phone actually has a reader setting, and it changes the light.
Oh yeah, and it looks like garbage. It's like it turns all orange and shit.
I always have it on it.
Oh really?
So, yeah, it's 24/7.
Blue light filter, yeah, and then it all just turns into watery
I actually
garbage.
like it. So I did it because I was like, I started reading on my phone, and I was, figured I'd try it out.
Yeah.
And when I switched it back, it gave me a headache instantly.
Really?
Yeah. So I just decided to keep it on there.
I think that you do a lot better than find some books that you like. Like this isn't a go download all of Shakespeare.
Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're in a trashy porno, go read some romance novels, man.
Dude, I mean, this might get mocked at by people, but the happiest people I know read young adult novels.
Sure.
The happiest adults I know, because they want to read something, get lost in the world without it being overdone with too much, like just being bogged down with somebody being overly serious or anything, and you just kind of jump in. It's like watching, it's like binging a show.
Yeah.
For them, and I think that's totally cool. I can't read them because I'm an intelligent adult. One of the greatest comics I've ever read, and I was sobbing by the end of it, which is a trend with all the things I like right now have been making me overly emotional. But my favorite things is Monsters. My favorite thing is Monsters is beautiful, well drawn, and I highly suggest it.
Was it a comic?
It's a comic book.
Oh, I thought it was a book.
It's a thick as shit graphic novel.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's like a murder mystery told from the viewpoint of a young girl who's obsessed with horror movies.
Uh-huh.
And
gee, I wonder why you liked it.
Yeah, right. It's set in the 60s. There's a lot of it looks like, so when you open the book up, it looks like somebody's like
a spiral notebook?
Yeah, and that she's just drawing in it.
Interesting.
It's really, really good.
That seems interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, and then also, Greg, I have to let some of this stuff go. I just can't remain puckered in the butt regions for, like I said in the Hitman video.
How many years did you remain puckered in the butt regions, Jeff?
Lots.
Yeah.
But I'm not
but
as
I'm
much
better
anymore.
now.
Right. I think that some of it was the fact that I've been able to branch out and do some different stuff that's not. There was a time when it was just rage select 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I've got this other project that I work on.
And focusing only on one thing made you, I know, because you would tell me, feel like it made Rage Select feel more stale.
Yeah.
Because you would do a podcast and be like, what'd you do this week? And you're like, fucking Rage Select.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. And then you go out and you live life a little now. And it's, a little, not a lot.
Yeah. Last weekend, I had an anniversary. I went to a really fancy restaurant.
Yay, fancy. I also think having a pet.
Hmm?
I think if you're having a horrible day, nothing is better than walking through the door and having any living creature be so happy at your mere existence. Because my dog is like, oh my God, I thought you were dead. And then she hugs us and she noses me in the face. I actually had almost a black eye, but I did have a bruise because she ran
Plonked you in the face
as hard as she could and went nose into orbital bone.
Oh, wow.
And it was I was asleep. And it was how I woke up. And it was awful.
Dog is a wackadoo.
She's crazy.
My dog is like on tranquilizers in comparison. The thing is that he gets excited one time, and it's in the daily walk time.
Yeah.
Amanda's seen it once or twice where all I have to do is say it, and he just starts cavorting around and turning in circles.
But I think that kind of enthusiasm is good to have in your life.
Sure, absolutely.
Whether it's a cat that's happy that you're feeding it or a bunny rabbit that's happy that it is a bunny rabbit. I don't know. I've never had a bunny rabbit. I don't know how they act.
Just jump around.
Whether it is like a pet lemur. I don't know what you do with your life. Whatever. The point is that something close to you but slightly dumber than you that enjoys you.
Absolutely. Greg, don't worry too much about me. To be honest, as I've said before, I'm not looking for Rage Select to go anywhere, but as I've always said, even if everybody canceled their Patreon tomorrow and I wasn't making any money, I'd go find myself another job. I'd just keep putting videos out. I wouldn't.
He'd have like a week or two of straight freak out if you all stopped being patrons.
That would be a little weird.
All at the same time, they're like,
why did I say that? But the reason that I do this is because I fucking love video games.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't be every single day. It probably wouldn't be in the same frequency that it's now. But I never want to stop.
Yeah.
Can't
stop, won't stop.
50-year-old man. It's until YouTube wants to put me on their YouTube Rewind. I watched 5 videos last week about why YouTube Rewind sucks and I'll never do it again. So,
why does it suck?
Apparently, if you're a small YouTuber, you have to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning
and just wait for all the big ones.
And then you just hang out in the cold for 14 hours.
It's
and you get 1 second in the background.
It's filmed in Southern California, so hang out in the cold means hanging out in 70-degree weather.
This was somebody that was in the Britain. That was where they were filming in Britain. So
fine.
Anyway, one last question from Tom. Tom says, Jeff and Amanda, since you have started cooking, well, this was specifically addressed to me, but I feel like it's a question for everybody. It's a question for everybody.
I don't cook.
Question for everybody.
Ask me about ordering pizza.
Since you started cooking, what are your favorite recipes? Have you tried cooking something that you weren't sure you would like, but were pleasantly surprised? Do you also feel like your diet and health has improved since you started cooking? I slow roasted a shoulder of lamb for the first time the other week for a party with garlic and rosemary, of course, and it was fantastic. And then I covered it in red wine and dark chocolate jus. Yours dongtastically in cooking, Tom. So I think that one of the most interesting meals that I ended up with was one weekend I was making pot roast for a little while, and mostly pork roast. Just take pork roast, throw some onions in there, put some chicken stock in, walk away, come back, you got food, right? So there was a weekend where I had some pork roast left over, and we were experimenting with making mayo.
Yeah.
Because we've never made mayo before. And it's kind of interesting to make mayo. You have to do it, you have to like pour this oil in just like a little bit at a time. You have to pour. It's all about how you mix the mixture together, and then eventually it becomes mayonnaise.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then I had some cabbage and stuff left over. So I ended up making my own coleslaw with just like cracked pepper, homemade mayo, cabbage, and some carrot, and I think maybe like a little bit of like lemon. And then I took the pork roast that I had, threw it in a pan with some barbecue sauce, and kind of made a poor man's pulled pork.
Yeah.
And then slapped that on a sandwich, and basically kind of made my own pulled pork sandwich.
That sounds super tasty.
Really good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, to be honest, Tom, like grilling, I just grilled, man, you can get away with a lot when you grill. You just grill up a shit ton of meat, and then you just microwave it. Like the chickens, like I was doing roasted chicken, and roasted chicken is really good like the first night, but leftover roasted chicken is a little rubbery. You need to like kind of throw some sauce or something on it. I'm trying to think of things that came out. I have this steak recipe that's kind of just cheating, where you heat up a pan, you salt and pepper the steak, and you let it sit, come to room temperature, and then you dry it off. You get a pan piping hot like you normally do. You slap the steak on both sides, and you wait for it to get to a certain internal temperature, and then you slap like a tablespoon of butter and some rosemary in the pan, and as it melts, you spoon it over the top of the steak to give it a crust, and then you flip the steak over and you do the same thing on the other side. It's a steak covered in butter and salt.
So, not good?
It's fucking divine. I really like the stuff that I can do. I don't do fancy. I'm looking for staples. Like roasted Brussels sprouts is a thing that I feel like at restaurants you would go in there and they'll just be like, "Oh, check this out. This will be $2 for this side of roasted Brussels sprouts." I'm like, "Fuck you! I can buy a whole bag of Brussels sprouts for $2 and have my own 8 sides."
$2. There's 3 Brussels sprouts. And a walnut.
Yeah, I think that the most successful that we've ever been was we did fajitas one night, and so grilled the chicken and steak, and then I made refried beans, which are super easy to make, and we made guacamole, and we made all the different stuff, and then we had all that stuff. We sauteed some onions to throw on top, and had I think that she made some pico, or no, we might have just bought pico. Because it's just pico.
Lazy.
It's just pico, man. Pico is
onions and whatever.
But that was probably the most involved of a thing that we worked together on.
Yeah.
There have been a couple of things where she's gotten really
beyond your
way beyond my abilities. I'm just looking to be able to feed myself. But it's interesting because at the beginning of 2017, I didn't cook, and now I feel like
Mr. Cookie.
I don't know.
Cookie McGee.
Yeah.
Chef Jeff.
Next year, I'm going to try to make the radical step because they kept jacking up the price at the local fast food place that I go to, and their food's gotten worse and the prices have gone up.
Which fast food place?
P. Terry's.
I was like, are you talking about Taco Bell?
No. Taco Bell has always been terrible and $5.
Yep. That's why we love it.
Next year, though, it really is a lot easier to go do to buy groceries if you split the cost with somebody else and you're both eating from the groceries. It's hard unless you want to commit to eating the exact same thing every day to buy groceries and then eat them all yourself, because you just end up eating the same, you buy turkey and you buy sandwich bread and then you end up just eating a turkey sandwich every single day for a week. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably the fajitas. Those fajitas worked out pretty good.
Yeah. I don't go too crazy on my cooking. Our kitchen's tiny. I thought when we moved we would get a better kitchen. We ended up with a smaller kitchen.
Damn it!
Now we have more dishes than we have space for, so it's like we don't got a lot of movement in the kitchen. But I tend to make more snacks than anything else. I like to roast sweet potatoes and throw a little cayenne on them, put a little olive oil, mix them up, and roast them because I'm a sucker for a good sweet potato. A 275 oven, some olive oil and salt, and you got a lot. There's a lot you can do with that. See, I always add cayenne to everything because I like a little spicy kick to everything.
Smoked paprika.
Ooh,
is very good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I also have in the past roasted my own chickpeas. Because I love chickpeas. I am a fucking sucker for them, and if I don't roast them, I'll end up just straight eating them from the can. So,
if I could make a suggestion, Tom, there's a book that I've been looking at recently that's called Salt, Heat, Fat, Acid, and it's a book that starts by talking about like how to use those 4 things to get the most flavor out of the food that you're using, and then goes on to, once you've talked about how to prepare things using those methods, then how to
add more,
pair those things together into a meal. The thing that I can't do that I'd like to be able to do is, there's some people that are just like, all right, what do you got here? It's got a little heavy cream. There's some paprika. It's like half a chicken. What do you got here? Okay, hold on. I'll be back with chicken parmesan in like an hour, right? And they just like, boop, 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 and then
you have to like preset what you're gonna do.
I cook by recipe. I just look at a thing, but I tell you what, man, it's a glorious day and an age where you can just pull your phone out of your pocket and be like, best mashed potatoes, and be like, which one do you want? There's 2,000 of them.
Which best mashed potatoes were you going for?
Dude, the holidays are coming up, and because I'm cooking, and everybody else in my family cooks, we've decided to split up Christmas dinner, and I think that I'm on the hook for mashed potatoes and a side because my sister didn't want to give me like too many things to do. Have you seen those mashed potatoes where they put so much goddamn cheese in them that when they lift the mashed potatoes up, it's like the mashed potatoes stretch like cheese?
So just melted cheese with some potatoes mixed in?
And I feel like it's a little bit more complicated, but not that much more complicated than that. Think about bringing that shit.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, because it's fucking
and
Christmas.
Kind of, it's one of those side dishes everyone piles onto their plate, and then they get really sleepy after they eat it.
Yep. So anyway, that's it. Mail@ragelight.com is the email address. Hope everything has been good with you out there in podcast land this week.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think about anything in the comments, and that's about it. You go cook a chicken, cook some potatoes, cook something. I gotta cook something now. I'm hungry.